There's a bombshell new report out from the New York Times about what happened in Benghazi, Libya, and who did the attack. So remember, in the aftermath, the direct aftermath of the attack, the government said, well, this has to do with this video that was released on YouTube that supposedly denigrates Islam, got them angry, and then they attacked. That was the original narrative from the administration. Then eventually that got chipped away as time went by, and it looked as if that wasn't true, and they said, well, no, this was just a planned al-Qaeda attack. And the Obama administration, to try to cover up before the election, said, oh, yeah, it was just this random group of people that are mad about this video, to try to quell the situation, to make it seem like it's not out-and-out terrorism. It's terrorism, but it's not al-Qaeda kind of terrorism. It's like a random group of rambunctious people kind of terrorism. And, of course, the implication from the right wing is that he wants to do this so that he can say there hasn't been an attack under my administration, or there hasn't been, an attack the same level of 9/11 under my administration, so that he could get away and win the next election. And that's what Mitt Romney did. If you remember, Mitt Romney spoke before President Obama spoke, directly after the Benghazi incident, and started attacking Obama. And Obama's like, what are you talking about? This is insanity. I haven't even spoken yet, and this jackass who's running against me is speaking, and he's not even talking about constructive solutions. He's just blaming my administration nonstop. So that was the narrative, and they've held roughly 962 hearings about Benghazi. Darrell Issa has been the head of all these committees. Well, according to this new extensive investigative report, they say there is, quote, no evidence that al-Qaeda or any international terrorist groups played any role in the 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate. So get this. This is even to my surprise, because I suspected a little bit of cover-up after Benghazi. But they say the Obama administration has total vindication. Their narrative all along was right. When they said this wasn't, a preconceived terrorist attack as far as we could tell, this was based on this YouTube video. I'm even surprised by this. So the report highlights that the attack was actually led by fighters who had benefited directly from NATO's extensive air power and logistics support during the uprising against Gaddafi. What do you know? Now, if anything, this should have been more... if the Republicans knew this should have been more powerful ammunition to go after President Obama. Why? Because they're saying, you idiots! Yet again, the West has funded an Islamic regime to thinking that we would buy their trust by helping them out, and then they turn those guns against us. Just like what happened when we gave weapons and money to the Mujahideen when they were fighting the Soviet Union, and then later on the Mujahideen broke up into the Taliban and al-Qaeda and fought us with our own weapons that we gave them. This is the same thing that happened here, except this time it was NATO weapons. So they also say, quote, contrary to claims by some members of Congress, it was fueled in large part by anger at an American-made video denigrating Islam. Now, let me be clear here, man. Does that mean that, the guy shouldn't have made the video denigrating Islam? No, of course not. We live in a country where there's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And just like the Dutch cartoonist can draw the cartoon making fun of Islam, just like South Park can poke fun at it as well, that's part of living in a free democratic society. It is a right, and we should stand by it on principle that, yes, if we offended you, too fucking bad. So let's just get that out of the way right away, that should the guy have made it? Should he be able to have made it? Well, there's no question. But with that being said, it is certainly true, according to the report, and remember, this is months and months of detailed investigation. They said that does appear to be what caused the problem. They say the only intelligence they found involving al-Qaeda was a phone call that night from a participant in the first wave of the attack to a friend in another African country who had ties to members of al-Qaeda. But according to the report, the friend heard the attackers brag, and he sounded astonished when the guy was bragging. So intelligence experts say the guy had no prior knowledge of the assault. So al-Qaeda was like, really? You attack the Americans? Rock and roll. Okay, that's cool. So yet again, man, I'm stunned at how often and how consistently Republicans are just wrong. Whether they're just making shit up, as oftentimes they do, or whether they're just morons and they don't understand the world. It's like anytime it appears as if there might be a little tiny, grain of sand of truth in what they're saying, even then, totally not true.